Later.
If you didn't already know, former ESPN host and resident white people hater Jemele Hill wrote a book last month, and it's not doing so hot. Don't feel bad if you didn't know, we just found out about the book ourselves. So, our very own Bobby Burak did some digging and found out that it was ranked 3,706 on the charts, behind none other than Spooky Pooky Pookie's Halloween. Yes, 2 weeks after Halloween.
All right, guys, so it's time to make fun of Jemele Hill because she's a failure, okay, an absolute failure. And basically her career started to decline ever since she started to get political on SportsCenter. Back when she had a job at ESPN, she took shots at President Donald Trump, okay? She tried to mix politics and sports, and she ended up losing her job over it, okay, just to go on and become as irrelevant as ever. But every now and then, she may come up in conversation or have a tweet go viral because, you know, she's woke and people know her from being on ESPN. However, she's a failure. She has no talent as a journalist. She had no talent as a sportscaster. And apparently she has no talent as a political commentator. And she definitely doesn't have a talent as an entertainer, okay? She's probably one of the corniest people I've ever seen in my life, okay? I know the exact type of person that this woman was growing up. She was always one of these people, and you see it all the time, black people who were probably smarter than most black people in school, but they never truly fit in, okay? They were a little socially awkward. And now as adults, okay, they're successful. They try so hard to prove their blackness because they never felt like they fit in, right? When they were in school. I know exactly the type of person she was, okay? Just from the way that she acts and she presents herself. This overt effort to prove that she is so pro-black and that she's down with the team, okay? I'm just saying. You see this all the time, okay? Colin Kaepernick is one of these people as well too, okay? He's light skinned, okay? He was raised by white parents. He never actually really fit in. And as an adult, okay, he's trying to prove his blackness, okay? That he is so pro-black. And it's one of the corniest things that we see nowadays when it comes to a lot of these people. But with that being said, like I told you guys, she has no talent. And it keeps showing up because she has failure after failure after failure after leaving ESPN because she wanted to become political. Because just last year she put out a book, okay, despite having millions of followers, having been on the flagship program at ESPN. You know, I don't necessarily know if she's a household name, but she's pretty famous, okay? She's pretty famous for the most part. It's just nobody gives a damn about her opinion, and that is why she only sold 5,034 copies of her book, okay, which is an epic failure for somebody that, again, has millions of followers, right? It's terrible. It's a disaster, okay? And the news gets worse for Jemele Hill because Jemele Hill is now reportedly leaving Spotify, most likely because her podcast is unsuccessful. Nobody wants to listen to her. And it's even more hilarious because this comes after she dared the company to pay a black host $100 million. And she found out the hard way that capitalism doesn't care about wokeness, okay? If wokeness is not returning a profit, if being black is not returning a profit, these companies don't give a damn, especially in a high interest rate environment where borrowing money is not free anymore, okay? These companies now have to be smarter with their financials, and they can't just pay failing hosts like Jemele Hill because, hey, they want to say that they're woke. Hey, we have this black woman podcast. They can't just pay you anymore for that and lose money, right? And I think that Spotify is basically firing her. They're letting her go, despite what she comes out here and says about it, to cover up, to cope. They're letting her go because, again, she's not profitable, okay? You can't make money off of this stuff. But allegedly, they're still in negotiations, okay? So, you know, this is not necessarily official yet, but again, it seems to me that more than likely she's going to be let go, or that they're not going to be able to come to an agreement as to keeping her podcast and her failing network that she created at the company. So I want to talk about it. But before I get into it, I just want to remind you guys, if you like my channel, you want to support my channel, you can check out my new merch. For example, the shirt that I'm wearing right now, the Fat Phobic shirt, which is a shirt that a lot of you guys have asked about. It is available on my website, gforemanbcp.com. Today, you can get 20% off using discount code gforemanbcp. So without further ado, let's get into this. Jemele Hill is leaving Spotify. The move comes as the service faces pressure to rein in costs and deliver profits, reports Bloomberg. And unlike other Spotify distributed podcasts, Hill's never attracted a substantial audience or deliver profits. Yeah, of course not. And I could have told you that again. And that's the funny part about the pandemic and how the U.S. government spent so much money, trillions of dollars, right, were given to people and mostly corporations. I mean, let's be real. A lot of people complain about stimulus checks, but stimulus checks was a minority of the spending in regards to handouts that were given by the government. Okay, we had a whole lot of corporate socialism going on during the pandemic where, again, a lot of that money, most of that money, a vast majority of that money actually went to corporate America. Okay, and that along with low interest rates, okay, so it basically costs nothing to borrow money, allow companies like Spotify to expand. Okay, a lot of tech companies expanded with that money. They went out and they got woke. Okay, they got DEI departments. They hired a bunch of woke people to come into their organizations and tell them how much they hate white people and how having less white people in the organization would make the company more profitable. And again, in Spotify's case, they went out and paid Jemele Hill, okay, to do a podcast that nobody would listen to because they wanted to say, hey, we're woke. Okay, we got Jemele Hill, we got a black woman doing a podcast talking about black women issues that even black women don't care about, right? So that's what they did. However, this stuff does not make money, and because of that, once interest rates started to increase, aka the cost of borrowing money from the government increased, it actually costs money to borrow money now. Okay, money wasn't cheap anymore. Along with other unfavorable economic conditions, guess what these companies have started to do? They've now started to cut back. And where's the first place they're going to cut from? They're going to cut from places that are unprofitable, that do not generate revenue or profit for the company. I did multiple videos about this, okay, when they had the massive tech layoffs and you had all these people going on TikTok boohoo, whining and crying about being cut. And a lot of these people just happen to be so-called people of color. Well, why is that? It's because they were hired as diversity hires. They were hired as tokens, okay, to perform a job that has no return on investment. And as soon as the company wasn't making as much money anymore, as soon as the company couldn't afford it anymore, as soon as the company said, hey, it's time to lean out, we don't want to do this anymore, guess what? They lost their jobs, right? And then they wanted to boohoo, whine, and cry about it. And it's like, well, I could have told you that that's what would happen because none of these companies are actually really woke because they believe it. They're only woke because they think it makes them money, okay? And when they figure out that it doesn't make them money, they'll turn on a dime, right? They'll turn on a dime. So I believe that's what's going on here with Jemele Hill, okay? Everybody and their grandma tried to start a podcast during the pandemic because people were at home. A lot of people lost their jobs. People were trying to start podcasts or whatever. And the people that survived were the people that actually had talent, that actually put in the work, that people actually wanted to listen to, that were at least somewhat entertaining. Unfortunately for Jemele Hill, she was not one of those people. Despite the platform endlessly promoting her show on its homepage, Hill's podcast does not rank among the top 200. Hill is no match for the 197th ranked Professor Cal's Audios Anya podcast, whatever that is. Jemele titled her podcast, Jemele Hill is Unbothered, though the show was anything but a podcast from an unbothered host. I mean, she was always triggered, okay? She was always triggered about something. In fact, she built the show around the hypothesis of how bothered she is with the state of the country, specifically how racist and white America is, right? Come to find out, not many people want to listen to that, okay? Which is hilarious to me because people really think that they can build a business excluding the largest demographic in this country, right? Telling possibly your largest audience that you hate them, okay? And then they wonder why their businesses fail, right? It's because you're excluding a whole group of people, the largest audience in the country. It doesn't make any sense. The episode list is filled with unjust hysteria featuring guests like rabble rouser, a weirdo Eli Mistal, and we do mean a weirdo who declared the Constitution trash on the program. Who doesn't want to hear two whiny multimillionaires decry the injustice they pretend to face based on Hill's ratings, not to very many people? Undoubtedly, Hill and her supporters will attribute racism to her exit. Bloomberg, which was given the information about her departure, racialized the move in the first paragraph of its report. Quote, another prominent podcaster is leaving Spotify Technology SA as the company reverses many of its biggest investments in original audio and loses yet another black voice, writes the outlet. Well, again, turns out that just being black is not enough, right? It's not enough to get people to watch your show or to listen to your podcast. You actually have to have talent. People actually have to care about what you say. And again, it doesn't help when you're quite literally telling the largest demographic in this country that I hate you and don't listen to my podcast. Again, this is what I try to tell people, man. Stop leading with your blackness, right? There's a reason why a lot of these so-called pro-black businesses, they don't work out, because they're trying to appeal to a demographic that is not big enough for them to actually make money, right? It's not big enough. There's just simply not enough people, and they don't care enough, okay, to actually support you. If you actually really want to make money, you should probably stop leading with your blackness and lead with a good quality product, okay, and also try to market to, you know, a bigger audience, more diverse audience, and maybe, just maybe, you can make some money. There's nothing wrong with trying to be niche, right? But again, Jemele Hill's audience is so niche that there is no audience, right? And that's why she's losing. And it's an absolute failure, because even the people that she's trying to market to, while again excluding the largest audience in the country, the people that she's trying to market to don't care about what she has to say, right? She's irrelevant to them, okay? Calling Hill, quote, prominent and citing her race is how you secure scoops. They didn't teach that in Journalism 101. However, the divorce comes after Hill tried to extort money from Spotify in the name of equality. In 2022, she dared Spotify to give her or another black host, but probably herself, the same money as Joe Rogan. Quote, what I would like to see, Hill said in an interview with the New York Times, is for Spotify to hand $100 million to somebody who is black, right? Somebody's black. Again, what do you think she means there? She means she wants Spotify to hand her money. She wants Spotify to give her a handout simply because she's black, and not because she actually can produce a show that's going to generate $100 million in profit for Spotify. Spotify paid Joe Rogan not because he's white, and Jemele Hill apparently is too stupid to realize that. It's because he actually returns a profit. Okay, he's going to bring people to the platform. Okay, he's going to make money for the company. You weren't making money for the company, and probably there are other black podcasters who are woke that weren't making money as well too. But they do have other successful black podcasters like DJ Academics, who also supports Trump, by the way. People like him. Hey, Spotify has no issue doing deals with people like him. Rumble has no issues doing deals with people like him, because guess what? He has an audience, okay? He actually has people that care about what he says and that listens to him, okay? Regardless of what you think about Academics, the guy actually does have good talent when it comes to commentary, okay? He's the best hip-hop commentator that I've ever heard, to be quite honest with you. But, you know, some people may agree or disagree with that. My point is that there's no market for this. And Jemele Hill is probably so delusional that she believes that she's probably worth $100 million. And that's probably where a lot of the contract negotiations are going wrong. Jemele Hill asking for more money than what Spotify is actually willing to pay. We don't know, based off what I read, whether or not Spotify is just straight up telling Jemele Hill she's out. Allegedly, they're negotiating. And I guarantee you, again, Jemele Hill thinks that she's worth more money than what Spotify is willing to pay. I wouldn't pay Jemele Hill a 6-figure deal, let alone a 7-figure $1 million deal. I wouldn't pay her 6 figures, right? I wouldn't even pay her 5 figures, to be quite honest with you. I'd be like, look, I don't even want you on my platform, okay? I mean, it's not even a good look for me to have you on my platform. Not from paying you, right? If you want to be up here for free, fine. But if I got to pay you, we're done. There's only one podcaster who is the only podcaster who does, Joe Rogan. Rogan didn't secure a 9-figure deal because of his whiteness. Spotify issued such terms to meet his expanding market demand. Hill has no such market. Yeah, exactly. Right, exactly. As we wrote at the time, quote, Hill's demand exemplifies the problem with a racially obsessed worldview. Hill cries racism whenever there is a successful white person who does not have a black male counterpart. However, the top individual in any field, whether black or white, almost never has an equivalent. They're at the top precisely because they don't have an equal. Exactly. I mean, that's capitalism. That's competition. So anyways, Jemele Hill is coping with the fact that she basically has been fired from Spotify and trying to clear up the situation, claiming that the reports about her aren't true. So let's read here. Jemele Hill says what has been reported about her isn't true. She says her podcast was not, quote, canceled, but didn't deny the cited Bloomberg report. She is leaving Spotify. In fact, she states she is leaving due to, quote, investment and growth differences, which Bloomberg reported and is cited below was due to Spotify needing to, quote, rein in costs and deliver profits, aka she wasn't making money. They were losing money off her podcast because nobody was listening. She always says she never directly, quote, asked Spotify for $100 million. That is correct, but as also reported below, she publicly challenged Spotify to, quote, hand $100 million to somebody who is black, quote, somebody as in one person, meaning herself, or another black podcaster, as reported. It's unclear what Hill sought to accomplish with her tweet. Perhaps all she cleared up is that she would be out of the company, but has not left yet. Anyway, you can read the Bloomberg report here and our context below. Yeah, so she's out, right? My gut feeling is because she doesn't return any profit to the company. And of course, she wants to come out here and cope and then pretend like, oh, you know, people making more of a big deal about this than what it is. You know, my podcast isn't going anywhere. Yeah, it's not going anywhere, except it's not going to be on Spotify anymore, right? It's probably going to YouTube, where it's going to get 5,000 views a video. Her current channel on YouTube has 60K subscribers and it gets about 3,000 or 4,000 views a video. Yeah, so it's going to go to YouTube where it's going to be irrelevant, right? It's not even going to have a marketing machine behind it like Spotify to promote it so that people can just, you know, skip over it, right? So I'm just saying, man, it's hilarious to see her try to cope with reality that nobody cares about what she has to say, despite trying to be some sort of activist, right, and losing her career because she became an activist. But like they say, get woke, go broke. We just have another classic example. Let me know what you guys think. Make sure you like, comment, subscribe, most importantly, share a black conservative perspective. Peace.